So welcome to session 3, and we're going to be discussing boundaries. And honestly, this is something I talk to every single person that comes into my office about. Like, no joke, every single person. So what are boundaries? It's basically what's okay or not okay for us. I also think a good way to think about it is where you end and I begin. Because sometimes we get kind of intermingled with other people's stuff and we think that somehow we are responsible or we have something to do with it or it's about us, when sometimes it's not about us at all. And so we're going to be covering in this class what healthy boundaries are, what unhealthy boundaries are, how we communicate that, and clearly why they're important. We could be engaging people in a way that isn't really healthy for someone else. And instead of blaming or trying to control another person, we actually just need to communicate our needs in an appropriate way so that we can have a healthy engagement. The best metaphor I have for this is that I have my hand in a doorway and the other person keeps slamming my hand in the door. It hurts. So an example of that would be like a hurtful behavior or maybe some mistrust or dishonesty or disrespect. And what I want you to understand that's really powerful about boundaries and about separating you from me, about taking some personal responsibility for our own emotional self-care, is that I actually have a choice if I put my hand in the door or not. And that's where it kind of shifts, that if I recognize, oh, you're separate from me and I actually can't change, fix, or control anyone else other than myself, then I can actually get my hand out of the door. Why it's hard to have boundaries kind of goes back to our second lesson and our first, by the way. They're all tied in. It's how I get my needs met. It's how my attachment style is. It's how much fear is playing out in my life. So if I fear that it's maybe not okay for me to have a need or to communicate that need, or that I'm somehow defective and there's something wrong with me, if I actually put up a boundary, then maybe you will leave or not be okay with me. That's scary territory, but it's not uncommon territory. It's fear and pain that's often driving why we're not taking care of ourselves emotionally, or why our hands in the door and getting slammed over and over, and we're not removing it. And you can see how this plays out in our relationships, that if I don't have emotional self-care, either, like I said, I could be engaging in an unhealthy relationship and feel powerless in that, even though I'm not, like I'm actually choosing to engage in the relationship or not. Or maybe how I'm getting my needs met is that I'm not, and we get to a place of either blame or resentment for things that we're maybe not communicating, or we've talked about before, like in a fearful way, hold on to something that isn't really working. And so it's actually really profound. The healthier your boundaries get, the more real and authentic you can be, and the more connected you get to be. And so my hope is that this is very practical for you, but also insightful to the emotional layers behind what's stopping you from saying this beautiful phrase, you matter and I do too.